Welcome to Between the Sheets, the non-judgmental podcast where we're going to cover various sexual health and wellness topics. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie Zwonitzer. I'm a urology and sexual health nurse practitioner, and I love helping my patients and listeners discover and develop their most satisfying sexual experiences. Between the Sheets is here to normalize the conversations about sexual health and cover everything from basic anatomy to the most taboo topics and everything in between. Real talk, real pleasure, one episode at a time. So come on, let's get between the sheets. This episode is sponsored by Boston Scientific and its educational website on erectile dysfunction, edcure.com. One study estimated that more than 50% of men over the age of 40 have some degree of erectile dysfunction, which can be frustrating and confusing. Go to edcure.com to find information on erectile dysfunction and treatment options, including long-term treatment options offered by Boston Scientific. Boston Scientific does not endorse any statements or opinions expressed during this episode. Hey guys, welcome back to Between the Sheets. I am happy to have you here again today as we explore more sexual health topics. We have a wonderful guest here today, Courtney Faye Long. She is an intimacy expert. Welcome, Courtney. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Dr. Stephanie. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah,
So
tell us a
excited.
little bit more about what an intimacy expert means and how you got into this.
Yeah. So another way to say it is I am a sexuality educator, and I have my master's degree in social work from the University of Michigan, and then also certificates in sex therapy and sex education. And so I've been teaching for 27 years now, and I got really passionate, especially about highly sexual women, because it's a whole group of women that are not often talked about. And then I also did a TEDx talk in Ireland just a little over a year ago about money and sex, the surprising connection.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. And I love this topic about highly sexual women because I think it's such a common thought that all men's desire is higher than women's. Period. End of story. You're never going to find a woman who wants it more than a man.
Yeah.
And that's just not true.
Right. It's not true. And the more I share about this on social media, the more men push back. They literally argue with me about it. And it's wild. But the research shows that, like one study showed, 1/3 of women have a higher sex drive than the average man.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
That's a big percentage.
It's a huge percentage. And then women typically are raised with so much shame around sexuality. There's this internalized slut shame. I know even myself, when I was in 6th grade, I kissed a boy by the buses. I mean, very, very, very PG. And my friends called me a slut for kissing the boy. And so there's just a lot of this shame, because sometimes men will say, well, why didn't I know this, that my woman wanted sex more often? Because a lot of women basically keep it hidden.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate. I know that some women actually feel shame because they think there must be something wrong with them if they have this strong desire, because culturally we're told women don't want it. You have a headache, you push them away, you don't want to be touched. So the women who do want it are like, oh, I can't tell anybody about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus then that script that a man should always initiate in a heterosexual relationship, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's so fascinating.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of help women, like, I guess, how do they identify themselves? How do they know to come to you? That is it because they're dealing with shame, or what are they going on?
Yeah, usually I talk a lot about, do you want more sex than your partner? Do you want it more often than your partner does? Do you feel rejected and unwanted and feel like you're too much? And that usually leads these women to raise their hand. And then the other piece that I find so fascinating is the deep ache. For a while, I was calling it this ache that we feel, when we are a woman who wants more intimacy, whether that's the physical intimacy, the actual sex, and even the emotional intimacy. There's this deep pain and sadness in our heart and our mind, but also literally within the vagina. It's like this ache that doesn't get relieved. And so I was so puzzled by this for so long. And then I finally found some words to describe it, and I call it erotic abandonment. When a woman wants more and she's not experiencing that, and sometimes it's even within her own relationship.
That's interesting. Tell me more about this erotic abandonment.
Yeah, so there's 8 different types. The
Okay.
first one is just when there's a desire gap, when the woman wants
Okay.
intimacy more often than her partner, and then she feels rejected.
Mhm.
Number 2 is when she's starved for touch. When
Mm.
this is so common too, where touch only happens in the bedroom, when
Yep.
it's time to heat things up.
Yep.
And typically, we just need touch all over much of the day, not all day long, but at least throughout the
Yeah.
day, like cuddles, hugs, kissing,
Yeah.
arm around the back. And that boosts our oxytocin, the love
Mhm.
hormone, so we feel closer and more connected to our partner. I mean, it's very simple.
Yeah, I think there's a research study out there that shows we need like 8 hugs a day or something like that just to be
Yeah.
balanced.
Yes, it's so
Yeah.
true, yeah, absolutely, and then the 3rd type is rushed warm up, when sex
Mm.
just moves faster than the woman is even ready for. It's like her body's not ready,
Yeah.
and her emotions aren't ready, and this I just find so fascinating that the average sexual experience is like 5 to 12-ish minutes long,
Mhm.
but typically women's bodies need 20 to 45 minutes of warm up before they're ready even for intercourse. And it's not just an emotional preference. I mean, so many people assume, oh, the woman just needs the heart connection.
Mhm.
It's kind of all in her mind, but it's actually physiological because of how women have erectile tissue too
Mhm.
within the clitoris,
Yep.
within that wishbone shape, right? And basically it just needs time to engorge. But the more that it does, then the more pleasurable intercourse feels.
Yeah. And I love that. And I also think that it's so interesting that it takes so long, but you're not saying you have to be doing foreplay, physically touching and getting each other warmed up. For women, a lot of it can start even before that. A nice conversation, helping clean
Yeah.
up the kitchen while you're kind of getting that romance going. And then you get to the touching part. So for women,
Yes.
do you find that there's more than just typical what we think of as foreplay to get them ready?
Absolutely. And even just feeling really wanted by their partner and the cherished, loved, but also sexually hungered for, just
Mhm.
that can also really increase a woman's readiness.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're spot on. It doesn't have to be all just like 20 to 45 minutes of foreplay. It's even that look across the room in the kitchen.
Yes. Or I know like some ladies will listen to an Audible romance novel on their way home from work, so they're kind of like already tuned up before they even get home to their husband or
Brilliant. Yes, it's so true. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's a huge one. When the warm up is really rushed. The 4th one I find to be, women tell me all the time how painful this one is. It's when it's done too soon, when sex
Mm,
ends before she's ready. And this goes back to that kind of mismatch of how much time it can take for a
yeah.
woman to be ready. So if if the whole thing's over before she's even fully ready to get started, it just feels so disappointing. Or if she's feeling this almost like sexual fire raging in her body because she finally was warmed up and now she's ready to go. And then sex just
Yeah.
ends because her partner is done and then conks out for a nap. And then she's just left feeling alone with this deep hunger. Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's a really tough one. And for
Yeah.
couples if it's a heterosexual couple and the male deals with difficulty with orgasming quickly, premature
Yeah.
ejaculation, something like that, that can
Yeah.
be a whole nother relationship issue then because of what you're saying. Because then
Yeah.
he feels bad because he wanted to last longer for her and he physiologically can't, and then she's upset with
Yes.
him. And it's a cycle for sure.
It absolutely is. And when I say that kind of it sounds simple, but not always simple, but simple fix is just keep going in other
Mhm.
creative ways until she feels complete. So,
Yeah.
tongue, toys, touch, there's all
Yeah.
kinds of things. If the man is just like so conked out from exhaustion, he can just hold her in his arms while she
Mhm.
self pleasures. There's
Yeah.
there's so many things, but it's all about maintaining that connection and just honoring that she has sexual needs too.
Yes.
And that and
Yeah.
then more than likely, she's multi-orgasmic or at least
Mhm.
capable of having multiple orgasms. And of course, not that it's all about the orgasm, but just kind of it's about the presence, right? And it's to
Yeah.
stay with her until she rides all these waves of pleasure. And then she's at
Yeah.
some point like, "Okay, Now I'm
Yeah.
complete.
Yeah. And if you are a guy who really conks out after your orgasm, then maybe you wait until she's done and then you get yours.
Yes.
You know, you can save
Yes.
penetration. You can save whatever it is as, for you that gets you off best. Save that towards the end and get her hers
Yeah.
first. I think that's a very nice way to do it as well as alternatives.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I know I've spoken with some men that they worry that they won't be able to last that long,
Mhm.
or to, if they lose their erection, what if it doesn't
Yep.
come back? But that's where erections wax and wane.
Mhm.
And I find a lot of people don't realize that. It's just kind of like, stay relaxed about it. The erection will come back. The more
Yeah.
you stay relaxed, right? Compared
Yeah.
to the more you're worried about it, it's more challenging for it to come back.
Absolutely. I always tell my guys their head to head connection is very strong. And if their big head is messed up, their little head isn't going to work. So they got to stay calm. Stay calm.
That's brilliant. With erotic intimacy, the fifth one, also very common, it's just called mechanical intimacy. When
Okay.
couples are going through the motions and sex is very physical, missing that emotional connection and missing the passion.
Okay.
Yeah. And that can, it's interesting because couples can literally be making love, but not feeling connected. And that can feel really painful to a woman too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. If your partner's thinking about the grocery list for the next day or the project they got to get done at work, and you can just feel that they're going through the emotions and maybe they're
Yeah.
not making their typical noises or they're, not getting the
Yes.
eye contact, something like that, it can feel very disconnected.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's so wild how that works.
Hmm.
And then number 6 is when it feels one-sided, when it just feels like the one partner's focused on their own pleasure, but not both partners. Number 7 is when, wait a minute, I have to look at my notes for number 7. I remember number 8 off the top of my head. Number 8 is when a woman abandons herself, when
Mm,
she essentially feels invisible, perhaps in the experience, and when she just stops asking. She kind of tries to convince herself that she doesn't need intimacy anyway. Not, it's not that important, which is a really common thing I hear too. So that one's extremely painful. And that just reminded me of number 7 is unseen hunger, when
mm,
maybe the man just assumes that his woman has low libido
mhm.
or she's not that into it, but actually what's going on is she's unfulfilled and she's tired of feeling rushed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, who wants to participate in an activity if you're not getting pleasure out of it?
Exactly. Yep, it's so true. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I can totally relate. I've had a partner who was extremely selfish and it was the position that worked for him, the rhythm that worked for him, whatever, and
Uh-huh.
whether I got mine or not didn't matter. And I was like, this is not the way that this partnership should be. Like this is disgusting to me. And
Yes.
it was such a repulsion towards him then. I wanted nothing to do with him.
Wow. Yes, that makes so much sense. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah. But then
absolutely.
on the
Yeah.
alternative, you have a partner who wants, learns what works for you and takes the
Yeah.
time for what works for you. And then, holy cow, line me up. I can't get enough.
Yes, it's so true. A woman just said this to me the other day that her partner was complaining that the more sex they have, the more she wants it.
It's so true. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So when women come to you and they're in one of these phases of abandonment, how do you
Uh-huh.
start to work through that? I mean, I guess each style of abandonment is you have to work through slightly differently, but where do you
Yeah.
start?
Yeah, well, the first step is embracing themselves as a highly sexual woman
Mm.
and just honoring that they have sexual needs, because
Mhm.
as women, we were socialized to put everyone else's needs first. So
Yep.
I think even having a need is an act of rebellion. Whether that need is, I need to eat right now, I need to rest right now, just any basic needs, I
Yeah.
think are take a lot of courage. Then you add on sexual needs, that so many women weren't encouraged to have their own sexual hunger and
Mhm.
desire, because it's almost like an art to just feel that hunger and desire in our body, especially if we might need a little more time to actually start feeling it. So
Yeah.
first is embracing themselves, and then also getting familiar with that feeling of hunger and feeling that it's a good positive experience in the body. And then I'm also a hypnotherapist. So we
Mhm.
clear shame at a subconscious level through
Okay.
hypnotherapy guided meditations. And that is so powerful.
That's really interesting. Can you tell me a little
Yeah.
bit more about that? Because I'm not familiar. I mean, I
Yeah.
understand what hypnosis is, but like how it actually can help in this
Yeah.
situation.
So basically, the conscious mind, the one that we're very aware of, our thoughts, is only accounts for 10 to 15% of our mind.
Hmm.
Our subconscious is the rest, the 85 to
Okay.
90%. So you can think of it like an iceberg, above the surface of the water. It's just the
Mhm.
tip of the iceberg. That's the conscious mind. The subconscious is underneath. The subconscious has all of our beliefs, our patterns,
Mm.
memories, feeling, state, and the subconscious, most of our subconscious beliefs were formed in early childhood from the time we were in our mother's womb till age 7, which this
Uh-huh.
kind of sets us up for a rough situation because when we're that little, of course, most of us weren't taught about sex. And,
Right.
our brain isn't even probably ready to understand that yet. But also, there's such a sexual repression, even just a love repression in our world, right? If we didn't see
Uh-huh.
our parents being kind or really affectionate toward each
Yeah.
other. So we learn about love and how to relate to one another at this young age. And then so many people were shamed around touching themselves,
Uh-huh.
touching their
Yep.
genitals at a young age. I know I got in massive trouble at age 3 for just touching myself. Not
Yeah.
thankfully not by my parent, by my aunt, unfortunately. But anyway, just saying, you add all these early experiences of feeling like we can't fully express ourselves
Mhm.
or certainly can't just explore our bodies. Shame, shame, shame. Then we're adults essentially walking around with all this hidden shame within our system.
Mhm.
So the hypnotherapy is just such a relaxing experience where I just start by saying, imagine you're in a beautiful garden and there's flowers and the sun is shining and you get all relaxed, which moves the brain from the beta state into alpha or theta.
Okay.
And then the conscious mind gets out of the way. And then we work with a metaphor, it
Okay.
might be pull the weeds in the garden. And that signals to the subconscious, let's clear that sexual shame. I mean,
Mm.
there's more to it, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool because you can clear it without even knowing what's being cleared. But usually when people open their eyes from these experiences, they just feel so much lighter, like something profound shifted.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. I love that. It's
Yeah.
so fun for me to learn more of the holistic side of things because coming from a medical background, it's here's a medication, slap a band-aid on it. And
Yes.
I certainly have left conventional medicine as I do more like functional medicine and concierge style, but
Yeah.
it's definitely so impactful to take more of a holistic approach and get
Yeah.
your whole body involved in healing because our whole body was involved in getting to this place anyway.
Yeah, it's so true. And when I first started out as a hypnotherapist, I was doing more general things, helping
Mhm.
people lose weight or quit smoking or come out as LGBTQ, various things. And at the core, it would always go down to a subconscious belief of not feeling good enough.
Mhm.
And I thought that was so fascinating. No matter what they were dealing with on the outside, it was not feeling good enough, which goes back to even women's pleasure. Is if many of us were raised with this feeling or belief that we're not good enough, we don't deserve it, we're not worthy, then how can we really fully receive pleasure?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. But I mean, this
Absolutely.
can be shifted, but yeah.
Yeah, and I like what you're saying, about how there's so much shame involved and we were taught not to touch ourselves, not to that was such a detriment. And I think there's so many
Yeah.
layers to that, whether it's, getting in trouble at home, being a part of a religion that really doesn't allow you to do self-exploration, culture
Yeah.
doesn't allow us to do self-exploration, especially as women. I feel like the
Yeah.
cultural expectation of men to masturbate is there. It's expected, they
Totally.
expect you to do it often, it's just part of it.
Yeah.
But for women, it's like, "I'm sorry, you do what?" And it's like, "Hell yeah, I do." Like, how else am
Yes.
I supposed to know what works for me or how I feel pleasure or whatever? You have
Yes.
to explore yourself.
Yes. It's so true. Absolutely. Yeah.
So how do you help women besides the hypnosis? Like
Yeah.
let's say for that particular thing where they don't even know what feels good to them because they haven't explored, right?
Yes.
And how do you kind of break through that mindset of it's actually okay and good for you?
Yeah, well, one thing is just by doing a daily 10-minute pleasure practice
Okay.
for women where dedicate at least 10 minutes a day to exploring your body and
Mhm.
ideally getting turned on. And when I share this with women, a lot of times they don't feel comfortable just going right for their genitals. And I always say it's okay. There's three kinds of pleasure. There's everyday pleasure, like smelling the roses,
Mhm.
enjoying music. There's sensual pleasure, like just self massage, maybe
Mhm.
grabbing a beautiful silk scarf or
Mhm.
satin scarf and just tracing it over the body. So, stimulating our senses. Then there's the sexual pleasure.
Mhm.
I always tell them start with everyday pleasure or sensual pleasure,
Mhm.
but it's also the pleasure mapping of exploring the body and just noticing, if I touch the back of my wrist, that actually feels really
Mhm.
nice. So,
Yeah.
yeah, finding out just new ways to touch that
Mhm.
feel really good and dedicating time to it each day and then exploring more of the sexual aspect. But part of it is just giving ourselves permission
Yeah.
to do it, and to say it's okay to feel good. And that's been the part I think that for me has been the most surprising is it'll come back to a core of a woman realizing, wow, I don't even know how to just feel good or how to just really let myself be happy.
Yeah. And that's really sad because I think, when you hit on it earlier that we're so focused on other people. We're taking care of our kids. We're taking care of somebody at work. We're doing, we're always doing. And
Yeah.
to just sit with yourself for 10 minutes, whether it's, like having your cup of coffee, it smells good. It makes me feel good. It's, just truly sitting
Yes.
there and understanding why it's good for you and feeling that pleasure life changing, I think. And the more
Yeah.
you practice it, like you're saying on the everyday things, and then the sensation side of it, then you can get to the pleasure and the sexual side of it a lot easier.
Yes, it's so true. It's like how they all fit together. It's really
Hmm.
fascinating because I love how you said that we're so busy doing, doing, doing. And to take a moment to enjoy our coffee is being. And then, and if we're
Yeah.
in this culture of doing, it's like, how do you do being? You can't. Like, it's like, it's such a
Yeah.
strange concept.
So you can't really write being on your to-do list for the day. It's a little odd, but you should. Like, I think about it like, people always say when it's your wedding day, take a few minutes, take it all in. When it's, your kid's first birthday, don't forget to actually step back and look around at the party or
Yeah.
whatever. So we tell ourselves these things in big moments, but we need to do them in everyday little moments too to really gain that practice of enjoying pleasure.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And then I even think of just how women, like cis women's bodies are wired is
Mhm.
we're wired to receive. Even if you think of penetration, so it's just like receiving and being go hand in hand.
Mhm.
Doing and giving go hand in hand and the receiving and being are a pulling in energy. And so it's very vulnerable to
Yeah,
receive.
it
It's
is.
yeah, yeah.
We're much better at giving sometimes than we are at receiving, and we've
Yeah.
been taught that
Mm.
since we were kids. Share your toys, give this. Oh, well, play what your friend wants to play for a little while before you get
Yes. My gosh, that's so true. Yes. Yep. And
Yeah.
taught essentially that we're good people if we give. And if we
Right.
don't, we're selfish and bad.
Right. Yes. And gosh darn it, we deserve to be selfish sometimes.
Yes. It's so
Yes.
true. I had a teacher once that said selfish, change that to you ish to take the
I
charge
love
out of
that.
it. Isn't that fun? It's just
Yeah, that's
focusing on
great.
yourself. There's nothing
Yep.
wrong with it. But
Yeah.
yeah, and speaking of this, kind of the receiving aspect of sexual connection, the highly sexual women deal with a unique problem, which is that women are wired to feel wanted,
Mhm.
or I should say, women are wired to light up and come alive when they feel wanted and
Right.
pursued by their partner. So, in the case of a highly sexual woman, she is often the one in her relationship who wants sex more often, which then results in she's often the one initiating, she's the one kind of getting things started, and then she's not feeling pursued by her
Mhm.
partner. So I was just speaking with a highly sexual woman the other day who she would like to make love 3 times a week, and her husband wants it maybe like once every week or 2,
Mm. Mhm.
and he stopped initiating. They're only a year and a half into their marriage.
Oh,
So it's still a pretty new relationship. They've
yeah.
been together like I think 5 years total. So anyway, I asked her, "What is the most painful part of this for you?" Because she
Mhm.
was saying things like she feels rejected,
Yeah.
she questions herself, she has trouble focusing at work, she feels this low grade anxiousness. But the most painful part of it was not feeling desirable
Mm.
to her
Yeah.
partner. And
Yeah.
yeah, women tell me this all the time, it's just that they want to feel wanted. So I put on my little research cap and I was really thinking of this because it's something I want too. And when it's not
Right.
there, I just like, this doesn't feel right. And the more we try, the more we try to get our partner to initiate, the less that the partner initiates. Because again, we've got to be, not do.
Yep. Yeah.
But I found out that there's actually physiological reasons that women are
Hmm.
wired to light up when they feel wanted.
Okay.
One is, and now I got to get my notes for sure. One is dopamine, that
Okay.
when our partner really desires us, our brain lights up, our dopamine increases, and we feel chosen, we feel more
Mm.
magnetic and more alive. Isn't that
Yeah.
interesting?
That is.
Yeah, I just find this fascinating. Oxytocin, when we feel
Mhm.
desired and in a safe relationship,
Yep.
we actually relax because when we're not feeling desired, our body goes into stress mode, that
Mhm.
fight, flight, freeze, or fawn mode. And also, we have this low grade feeling of a threat, like something is
Mhm.
off. And I just find that so fascinating. And then when we experience more connection and especially touch, hugging, cuddling, and even intercourse, it increases our oxytocin. So then our whole system relaxes.
Yeah, it's really incredible. I think, a lot of people don't realize this, the sympathetic versus the parasympathetic, the fight or flight versus the relax and digest kind of time. And most of us, unless you're conscious of changing this, live in the sympathetic state. And when you're in sympathetic state, arousal, pleasure, orgasm are extremely difficult to achieve. You have to get into the relaxation parasympathetic state to truly receive pleasure more easily, achieve an
Yeah.
orgasm, to more easily be aroused. And so it really is like what you're saying is, especially in a relationship where you can feel safe and desired and things like that, help you get into that calming state to even be able to desire intimacy or receive the pleasure.
Yes. Yeah. It's so fascinating.
Hmm.
And I mean, I'll often suggest for women and couples before you even attempt to heat things up sexually, just rest for 20 minutes. Even if
Yeah.
it's just a little rest by yourself on the couch, or you get in bed together with clothes on and just cuddle, or you can be
Hmm.
naked, of course. But it
Yeah.
just kind of like start with relaxation, let go of the stress of the day. And then usually your body's natural turn on will start coming alive
Yeah.
much more easily than if you rush right in from work and just go right into a sexual
Absolutely.
experience. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And that might even be why, for your women that say, the more I have sex, the more I want it, is because they're learning how to get into that parasympathetic. They're getting that oxytocin out of them, which makes them stay in that state a little bit longer. And that state feels so good, whether you get an orgasm or not.
Yes, it does. It feels so
Mhm.
good. Yep. Yeah, and it's like a warm hug in our heart,
Yes.
Feels
Yeah.
so good. And then we also have mirror neurons. I didn't know anything about this. So when our partner wants us, our brains are wired to mirror that desire. So the more our partner wants us, again, if we're in a relaxed state,
Yeah.
then we start to mirror that and actually feel more turn on.
Hmm. Okay.
Isn't it cool?
That's really cool. Our brains are
Yeah.
awesome, aren't they?
Yeah, it's so cool, and I kind of think too of especially so many women when they are giving, whether they're working and giving at work or whether they're
Mhm.
being a mother and giving to their children or just giving to all the people in their lives, it's almost like initiating sex is kind of the last thing they might wanna have to do. It's just another
Mhm.
thing on the to-do list. So that's the other element too, is just how nice it feels when our partner takes the lead and then we can just, relax and
Yes.
receive. Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely. I know I feel that way because in my clinic, I'm constantly making decisions for the day. I've got to be on. And so if my
Yes.
partner can take over and just kind of be in charge of something and I can just be a pillow princess for a little while, man, that is amazing. It's amazing.
I love that. I love that so much. Oh my gosh. So there's a few things that shift within the body when we feel really wanted and
Okay.
desired by our partner. Blood flow increases to the vulva and clitoris, which
Yay.
isn't that so cool? I had no idea. I'm just learning about this recently. So that increases that engorgement of the
Yeah.
erectile tissue, and that also heightens sensitivity, so we feel more pleasure. So just feeling wanted by our partner can increase our pleasure, which is why that
Awesome.
mechanical intimacy, when you're just going through the motions, it
Hmm.
doesn't activate that same feeling of feeling
Yeah.
desired. Our lubrication improves, natural
Okay.
lubrication improves because when cortisol is high, the stress hormone,
Hmm.
then lubrication decreases. So when we feel safe and desired, our lubrication increases. I think it's so fascinating because
Yeah.
a lot of women, especially I work with a lot of women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Hmm.
And so they just are not as wet as they used to
Yeah.
be, and they worry about that, and then but I always say, of course, we can use moisturizers and lubrication as well, but there's also dynamics that we can shift within the relationship that help bring out more natural lubrication.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's
Is that
amazing.
what
And
you
you're
say?
and you're right, especially as we're going through perimenopause and menopause. Physiologically, we're already losing some of that unless you go on hormone replacement therapy.
Mhm.
And so anything we can do to add that back in is really important.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So there's also nitric oxide release
Yeah.
from feeling wanted. So do you know about this?
Yeah, so nitric oxide helps our blood flow and it helps
Oh,
our
wow.
arousal.
Wow. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that is so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. I mean, it's one of the things that men with some erectile issues, especially early on where they might not need ED medicine yet, will
Mhm.
say, work on your nitric oxide and that can help boost your erections. And it's the same for women. The better we are doing nitric oxide and moving our blood system, the more you're likely to get aroused.
Wow, this is fascinating.
Yeah. It's really cool. And there's different supplements that you can take to help with your nitric oxide, but the best thing is just getting exercise, which
Oh,
we need
wow.
exercise anyways. So it's
Yeah.
really important. Yeah.
Is it any kind of exercise help
So
with this?
cardiovascular is really good for just,
Mhm.
because that gets your blood pumping. But what
Uh-huh.
really helps over time is resistance training because the more muscle mass you have, the more nitric oxide your body is going to make. So it's kind of a combination of both. If you kind of like are like, all right, tonight is sexy night. I want to get pumped up. Should probably do some cardio earlier in the day to kind of get that going. But over time, you really want to do the weight training consistently to get that.
Oh my gosh, that is incredible. Like, it just blows my mind to think about all these different ways that we can actually help our sex lives that I would have never thought of.
Right. It's so
Yeah.
interesting how much we can connect the dots and what works for one of our body systems will also work for our sexual system.
Wow, it's so
Yeah.
fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the last one I wanted to highlight was the vaginal tenting, that opening up from the inside, and as arousal builds, the vaginal canal lengthens and
Mhm.
widens, and of course, then the uterus lifts upward, and so it's when a woman feels really desired, this happens within her vagina,
Yeah,
which is it's so beautiful. So
it
then I
is.
think of just, how can we show each other as partners, I want you, I desire you, and not just I desire sex
Yeah.
because I want to just have some stress relief or a
Yes.
release, but I desire you.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that's so important and, that's the physiology of our vaginas doing that is so that we can have penetration and do procreation and all of those things. I think it's finding ways to show the desire, right? I think it's so important to have conversations like that with your partner outside of the bedroom. When you're not even in the mood, when you're not trying to be sexy, just over dinner, hey, what
Yeah.
is it that I do that makes you feel wanted and desired? Because I want to do more of those things so that
Mhm.
you do get turned on, so that you are prepped and ready by the time we actually get to the physical touching part.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love how you said that too, asking your partner, because
Yeah.
we're all so different. We all have a different treasure map of what
Yep.
lights us up, what really actually fulfills us in the bedroom or wherever we're making love.
Yeah.
But it's just so important to ask because it could be something simple. Like it really makes me feel wanted when you caress the back of my head,
Mhm.
or it makes me feel wanted when you buy me flowers or when you take out the
Right.
trash.
Right. And what's true for us is not necessarily true for our partner. So if I'm doing to my partner what I want done to me, but that's
Mhm.
not what works for them, that's a problem. So that's why
Yes,
I like the asking that. Like, what is it that I do for you? Or what would you want me to do that makes you feel desired? Because if I need the head caress and you need me to say nice things to you, or you need me
yes,
to, be more forthcoming with my desire of you or something like that, and that turns you on, that's totally different than me wanting you to, stroke my hair or be more gentle with me or something. So it's really having that conversation makes a huge difference.
yeah, absolutely. And then also going back to what you said earlier about women even being in touch with the sensations inside themselves,
Mhm.
knowing what they want, that
Yeah.
is a huge thing. So that self-exploration, that 10-minute pleasure practice can make a big difference of knowing what you want and what you like so you can share that with your partner. Plus then adding on we women are ever-changing beings.
Oh yeah.
What we like
Yeah.
one moment might change 10 minutes later or the next day,
Yes.
depending.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what, sometimes I feel bad for, partners of women because we do change a lot. And, with our cycles, with our hormones, with phases
Yeah.
of life and just day to day. Maybe yesterday I was in the mood for a little bit more faster and upbeat kind of thing. And now today I'm feeling very sensual and I need you to be slower with me and more delicate.
Yes.
And how the hell is he supposed to know if I don't tell him?
Yes.
Yeah, because we've already learned that we're not mind readers. So,
Yeah.
yes. I think this is amazing. I love this discussion because I think so many women do feel more desire for sex than they let on because we're
Mhm.
societally not supposed to. And so I
Yeah.
really love this discussion. I know it's a thing for me. I am a very sexual person. For a long time, I felt that that was what I needed to be desired or wanted was if someone wanted sex with me, then I was good. They liked me. They wanted me.
Yeah.
I have done a lot of therapy and grown since then so that I don't have those issues. But, for me, it still is a really good connection thing. I want to feel that connection with my partner. I like being naked with my partner, whether we're having sex or not. It's just that very intimate bonding for me.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just opening that conversation and allowing women to know that it's okay to feel that way. It's normal to feel that way. There's nothing wrong with you for having a higher sex drive. I really love this conversation.
Yeah, well, and one study found that 47% of women say they wish they were having sex more often, which is almost half,
Yeah.
47%. Yep. And then, I mean, I also talk to women who say, yeah, I want it more often, but I also want it to be fulfilling, kind of like
Mm.
not that 5-minute thing, but yes to a at least,
Yeah.
30-minute loving experience or 45 minutes or up to, several hours. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like wanting it more often and wanting it to be really fulfilling. The other thing that is so fascinating to me is that when we are having that intimacy we need, it lights us up. It's like the lights turn on brighter. And it's not just this esoteric thing, it's because of the oxytocin and the dopamine.
Yes.
And
Yep.
then also this feeling of we're connected to our partner, like you said, and our needs are being met. And then it boosts, there's so many studies that show that sex boosts our happiness and
Mhm.
our, even our self-esteem, our
Yeah.
confidence, and our creativity and our productivity at work. There was a
Yep.
study that showed we're more productive at work the next day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's incredible. Courtney, this has been such a fabulous conversation. And I definitely want people to know how to be in touch with you and work with you. So, how can people find you?
Yeah, so people can go to my website, CourtneyFayeLong.com, and then there's a quiz that you can take. It's about finding out how fulfilled you are essentially in the bedroom. And then also, they can schedule a complimentary sex life makeover session with me on Zoom.
What is in a sex makeover session?
So we essentially look at what's not working, in your sex
Okay.
life right now, and how are you really feeling? Just kind of say it out loud, even if it's for the first time in this safe space. And then we look at what you really want, what is your almost like ideal sex life, and
Mhm.
then look at that. How do we create a bridge to get you there?
Okay.
And then so I make professional recommendations based on my 25 plus years of experience. And then if it's something I can help someone with further, then we talk about what that could look like. Or if not, I mean, people walk away from these with these huge light bulb moments that they're really, really profound.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love this so much. And we will certainly put links in the show notes for you guys. And Courtney, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate this conversation today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stephanie, for having me. Thank you for your work. You are amazing. I'm so happy just to get to connect with you, let alone do this episode. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Everybody, have an amazing week. Don't forget to check out reviveish.com for your health and hormone needs. And as always, go have some fun between the sheets. Thank you for joining us and exploring sexual health topics here on Between the Sheets. New episodes are available every Wednesday. Please subscribe and rate our podcast so we can reach more listeners. And don't forget to tell your friends, partners, and anyone who will listen about Between the Sheets. Send any comments, questions, or stories to podcastbetweenthesheets@gmail.com. It's all one word, podcastbetweenthesheets@gmail.com. Thanks for listening and go have some fun between the sheets.